So right now we are done with installation of a DNS and ADDS. So the next step is we need to add our dynamic host configuration protocol, or the DHCP, because last time we disabled the DHCP of our server so that we can add our own DHCP to our server desktop or desktop server. So click the add roles and then just next, and the same role based or feature based installation and next, and the same also because we only have one um, server pool, one only in our server pool. So we have to select from the server pool and only just like that, and next, and add the DHCP, add feature and print and documents, add features, and then next is we need to next. So next step is we need to next and next and next and next, because this is a setup for the print and documents services configuration. And next is to install, and you have just to wait for the process or the progress of installation. Just wait. And we're done with adding and close, and we need to go to our notification tab and find the complete DHCP configuration, and next. Oh no, not that one. Later part. This part is just later, we mistakenly. So not on the notification tab, but go to the tools and find the DHCP and find the Win and find your IP version 4, and then find your server of IP version 4, and then right click and create a new scope, and next in this portion in the welcome tab, welcome section of the wizard, new scope wizard, next, and then indicate your scope. For example, test the scope, and next, and add your start IP address and end IP address, because this will show how many user or device that can connect on the domain that we created last time. So 192.168.100.50, for example 50, and I want to have a 11 users that can access this system, and then so 192.168.100.60, because 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So 11 users can access this domain or network. So next, and exclusion, nothing to add in the exclusion, just next, just the same least duration. This is, for example, this is a demo purposes, so just have to remain it as 8 days, and next. And in this the configuration of the DHCP option, we have to yes, and add the router or the default gateway, your default gateway, because our default gateway is 192.168.100.1, because once we open our CMD and type IP config on our CMD, it will show our default gateway, the 192.168.100.1. So I just have to add and next. So in this portion, the server name, we can also indicate it as just server, and to resolve, it will show up directly your IP address. Host not found, or how about Tesla? Host not found. Anyway, just don't mind that one. Just add, and the DNS validation will validate if it's correct or not. Also add again. Okay, so we're done. Next, so win server is our I mean the domain, which is tesla.com. So in this portion, if you resolve, it will directly show up the IP address. So add and next, and you want to activate the scope? Yes, we need to activate that one. So next and finish. So we are done with activating our scope, and next step is we need to create a OU. So where we can create an OU? To create an OU, we need to go to our tools on our dashboard, tools, and find the Active Directory users and computers. So this is a domain that we create last time. So double click or just expand on the right tab and new, right click new OU. For example, test the OU and enter. So we already create AOU or organizational unit. So right click and new and create a user. For example, I'll just use my name and just indicate jam. So once we next, it will require us to create a password. So the same, I'll just indicate the same password that I've usually used. So okay, and then user must change the password is not checked. Only the user cannot change password and password never expires. So next and finish. And with that, we have to close this one, minimize our dashboard, and we need to create a folder. For example, Tesla folder. So this is the folder. Tesla folder and right click, properties, go to the sharing tab and find the share, add the, for example, just add the domain user, so that every account that is under that domain can access only, not those that is not indicated. So only users that is under those domain can only access that folder. So apply, okay. Oops, we cancel this one. Okay, and copy the network path of the folder, copy and close. Go back to your server manager and then go to the tools so that we can create a group policy objective or the GPO. So click the GPO or the GP management, expand the domains so you can find your domain that you created under the DNS. So right, double tap on the left side corner or expand the left side and find the OU that you have created, because once you create an OU under the users and computers, it will also directly interlink to the GP management or the group policy management. So once you right click, you need to click the create a GPO, and for example, you need to create a GPO for GPO folder redirection, and also we need to create a GPO for GPO printer deployment. Okay, so we already create a GPO. However, we need also to add a printer. Since we add a GPO for printer, then we also need to add a printer. So for demo purposes, my printer is not listed or wasn't listed, and then add a local, and then the same setup I just do is demo purposes. So just select which printer that is available. So I just have to rename it as server printer, and next and finish. So we are done with adding the printer, and close. And also, if you are done with the setup of the DHCP, do not forget to add to the go to the notification tab and complete the DHCP configuration and commit. So that's the last portion for the DHCP configuration. So again, we'll have to continue with the GPO or the group policy management. So we need to go to our GPO folder redirection, right click, edit, and find the user configuration, policies, Windows setting, folder redirection, and find whichever location that you want to have a folder redirection. For example, desktop, right click, properties, and on the setting tab, find the basic, which is redirect everyone's folder to the same location, and paste your network path that is coming from our folder that is created last time. So right click, properties, and settings, check also the last part so that older version of Windows can access also. Apply and okay. So we're done with adding the group policy for folder redirection, and also we need to go as to our printer deployment. So we need to search on a search bar and print management. Just find the print management and open, and find the all printers and find the printer that you had added last time. So I need to right click, deploy with group policy, because my GPO printer deployment or for the setup is under the GPO or the OU. So printer, the printer, click the user that this GPU apply to per user, and also check the computer that this GPU applies to per machine. So okay, so we're done with GPO, and the next part is our client is needed to join a domain. So the next step is on the keyboard on our client desktop is Windows R ncpa.cpl, and in this portion you need to disable this one. Remember that our client does not have an IP address, so that is why we need to disable and enable. Once you disable first and enable, next is there will be a prompt will show on the right side. If you seen early in this step, it shows already, but however I mistakenly click on the on our dashboard, so I forgot to click the yes. However, it will also just show up the domain that you have created in this setup, which my domain is tesda.com. This means that we can now join the domain. If this domain will not show up, then the tendency is that you cannot join a domain. So that's the problem if there will be no showing of prompt message that question if do you want to discover this blah blah blah, something like that. So the next step is we need to join this client desktop into a domain. So all you need to do on your keyboard is Windows E, and then go to this PC, click this PC, and on this white space or blank space, right click, properties, and go to the change setting and change, and click the domain. And for example, which is my tesda.com is my domain that is created on our desktop server. So that is the tesda.com. Right after we click the OK, it should says that welcome to the tesda blah blah blah.com. So that's the tendency that is correct. And also to know if your setup of joining the domain is correct, if there is computer blah 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 asking for username and password. So that's the tendency to check if your setup is good at the same time is correct. Once you also remember that you yes the password in this setup of server desktop. So we have to join the domain administrator, because administrator is the default name when it comes to server. So I need to indicate the password. So my password for this demo is serveradmin1. server A, daemon 1, and then okay. So it will welcome us because we are now joining the domain. So just okay and done. So you just have to restart because it will request you must restart your computer to apply these changes because we configure in this client desktop. So once we close this one, it will ask again for restart. Okay, so we are done with joining the domain of our client to a setup of Windows 2012 R2. The feature or the version of the R2 2012 is server installation, server with GUI. So once you join this client in a domain, there should be a others. That means that this device or this desktop is under a domain. So that's why when we enter, so there's other user. So once we log on this one, for example, because my user that I created last time is just jam. So just have to indicate also the password and then enter. So it just welcomed as jam. So right after this one, you need to go back to the folder that you have created in this portion. So double click, enters, and open the folder that is under the GPO, and this one is the jam because last time I did not create the jam. It will only show up once the user account is logged on a desktop. So this folder is connected or interlinked with our client desktop. So we need to join. So it will also show up the GPO for the redirection location where you configure last time. So once you double click on it, it will show that you don't have currently permission to access this folder. However, if you click the continue and click the security tab and advance, click the advance and continue, and then you can find that the owner unable to display the current owners. You can you need to configure this one, click the change, and then for example domain user, because so that every user under this domain can only access, or you can also indicate which user only. If you want only a user can only access that one, or users. Okay, and then right after that, adding of domain users, you need to click the replace owner on subcontainers and objectives. So click the apply, and you just have to reconfirmation and yes and okay and okay and okay and close. So once you refresh this one, so once we log on this one, once we create something in this folder, it will directly show up on our client location. So for example, so again, there's no folder that is created in this one. So once we create a folder or whatsoever file in this folder, the folder redirected under the desktop under the username of jam under the desktop folder redirection. So once we create is something folder in this one, so example I have to spam. So once we go to our client, it will show up directly. So that's the difference of folder redirection and folder sharing. So, and to check if we add a printer, you need to search the printer and scanners, and this is our printer. It should show in this portion your printer or the added printer under the GPO management or objective. So that's the setup of 2012 R2 Enterprise if you target of having a GPO and at the same time creating an account and joining the domain also. So that's all. Thank you. If you have a question, just comment down below. Thank you. God bless and bye-bye.